So I was at the comic book store the other day and I was talking to the clerk and we were both just talking about our giant piles of comic books that we need to get through. So it reminded me that I should hit another pile of comic books and do a review. So I am doing Biker Mice from Mars. This is 1, 2, and 3. This is the original, the first story that came out. And then I've got Biker Mice from Mars 1, 2, 3, and 4. These came out second, and it was very confusing because there's no subtitle or anything. This is Biker Mice and this is Biker Mice, and they came out, it felt pretty quickly after the 1, 2, 3, and I wasn't really sure. I didn't even know that like they were doing another one, but I think it's super weird that they called this one 1 because this one picks up like directly after this. I think this should have just been number 4, but I don't own it and it wasn't my call. I liked this as a whole, especially this one. This one I have some complaints about we're going to get to. This as a whole, it was definitely made by people who like the franchise and who are knowledgeable in the franchise. And I thought it was a fairly solid story overall. I am going to give critiques, but they're going to feel like nitpicks because, once again, everything was pretty solid. When you hear me critique and complain about certain things and you're like, oh, you're getting kind of nitpicky, I am. Like, I am nitpicking because there's nothing big to complain about, okay? And I really, 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 really like this franchise, okay? This is one of my favorite shows ever. So, like, the more I love it, the more perfect I want it to be, so the more there's going to be nitpicky. So just be aware that's how this is going to get reviewed. I do have some bigger complaints with this one, which we'll get into later. This story takes place before the show. This is at the cusp of the Plutarchian-Martian War. I was immediately intrigued because this is something that really was never touched on in the show. So I thought this was a really cool idea to start from, even though we kind of got tricked because this is a 3-part cover here, and it's very much like the show. We got Charlie in here. Charlie's not in this at all. We have Chicago and everything. Like, none of this, nothing from Earth is actually in this show. These are pretty much just nostalgia covers. They're great covers, but they don't cover at all what is in this comic, is what I'm saying. It's not a bad thing, but it is a little annoying sometimes when you pick up a cover because you're expecting something to be in it and it's not. But it's cool that Carbine's on it. I thought that was interesting. We've got Carbine, but then everything else is Earth-oriented. It was interesting. But okay, going back to this comic, so we're on the cusp of the war. We see the bros, and they're just, like, hanging out. I am assuming they're around 18 years old. In canon, when they're in Chicago, they're between 21 and 23. This is before the war. The war needs some time to, like, ravage Mars, so I'm assuming they're at least in their late teens, if not younger. I'm going with 18 here. We're assuming they're about 18 years old. They have no jobs. As you can see here, they have no jobs. They have nothing to do. They're just riding around. And then the Plutarchians show up in their little digging machines that we're used to seeing in the show. And this is the first of many, many times that we're going to see Rimfire and Primer in danger. This writer loves putting them in danger, and the bros show up and save them, and then we see Plutarchians for the first time, and they talk about how Plutarchians were on Mars, but they were just kind of there with permission. Once they had entered Mars, then the facade came down and they started attacking, and that's what this says here. And then, like, this is one of the few things that made me wonder, like, why this thing with, like, Throttle's mom. So this is his mom, and she is, like, the oldest lady in the world. She's, like, in a retirement home, and like I said before, I'm guessing he's around 18. Like, how old is this woman? Like, what'd she have him when she was, like, 65? And why? Like, why does he have to have this old woman with dementia or whatever? Like, she forgets who he is a lot. What is the point of this? Like, this never comes to anything, that he's got this mom in this retirement home. I thought it was just so strange. The one thing I disagree with this writer is that she seems to work so hard on making our 3 main characters, especially, not really Moto. No one cares about Moto, but she really wants to make Throttle and Vinny kind of tragic characters with like tragic backstories, and you don't really need to. Like, these are already tragic characters. Like, they've already been through a lot, and their whole shtick is that you can't tell. You can't tell that they're tragic characters ever until we actually got those episodes, the Once Upon a Time on Mars, where you actually see what they had to go through. Other than that, like, you have no idea. You have absolutely no idea that they went through anything because they're a bunch of goofballs. So long and short of it is, I don't understand why we have to do this thing with Throttle's mom, who is like the oldest person alive to have a child. Like, why is she so old? Was he like an oops baby, or like, what's going on? Why is she so old when he is so young? It makes no sense. And here's our first time seeing Harley, which just made my day. Like, I love Harley so much. I loved her, you know, seeing her in the Once Upon a Time on Mars, and then I was so disappointed when, you know, she gets kidnapped by Mace, and then we don't ever know what happened to her. And then they tried to wrap up that story in the 2006 show, which is absolute trash, and I hated the whole thing with Harley in there. If this comic ever tries to do that again, I hope they do something different, because it was dog shit. I was so mad. I hated it so much, but I'm so happy to see Harley. We're still pre-war kind of, and she already helps the guys with their bikes. And there's Moto's mom. I can buy that she's an older lady because she actually has this older daughter. She has this daughter, this is Sweep, I believe her name is, and, you know, who already has 2 kids. So Moto is like the baby, so it makes a little more sense that he has an older mom. I think he was an oops baby. Because these two, like, I was trying to do the math, and I'm guessing she's like in her early 30s and he's 18. So, like, they're definitely far apart. It's possible he has even more siblings in the middle. But she's an older lady, but she can still get up and move around. Like, her age makes a little more sense to me. And then we get to see Carbine. She's already in the army fighting Plutarchians, and she's fighting by herself for whatever reason, and the bros come and save her. And Throttle flirts with her. She tells them that the army is not happy that these guys, that the 3 of them are running around fighting Plutarchians just by themselves on their bikes. And she has specifically been sort of steering them away from the bros, but she's like, it's not gonna last forever. You're eventually gonna get in trouble. And that is pretty much this volume. It's just setting things up. I was so happy reading this. Like, even though I just had all those nitpicks, I was just so happy reading this because it was something new and it wasn't trash. You can tell that it is put together by people who do like this franchise and know about it and respect the fact that this franchise has fans and they want to see something good. After surviving 2006, and then we got this instead with like the good character designs, I was very, very, very happy. And here we are with issue 2. And in this issue, the bros actually decide that they're going to join the army then. Because they want to do what's right. They want to protect people, and this seems like their only option at the time, because right now there are no freedom fighters. There is just the army. So they're not super happy about being in the army, and we do get to see Sergeant Scabbard too. But they're doing their best. They're not allowed to be bikers. They're just allowed to be soldiers. And in the meantime, I had to mark this because this... What is this? What is this dinosaur chomping on flowers? This is the most bizarre thing. Like, I was so caught off guard. I was just like, what? What is this? Like, you'll never see this again. There's just this one picture with this dinosaur thing with bones sticking out everywhere, just eating flowers. It was so weird. But we're on Moto's farm, and Rimfire and Primer have found Stoker, and he has got his shit kicked in because he's been living out in the boonies fighting Plutarchians all by himself. And then the Sand Raiders show up because they're looking for Stoker, and once again, Primer and Rimfire are in trouble. Oh, and then Rimfire manages to get away, and I forget I forget the name of the dad. This is Sweep's husband. Like him and Rimfire dress the same, and they look the same, and like he's shorter than she is, and I think it's I think it's so adorable. I forget his name off the top of my head. He has a name, and I'm pretty sure it's mentioned in here, but I've forgotten off the top of my head. Okay, and then the bros are out doing army marches and stuff, and Rimfire shows up and is like, "We need help." Like, and they're kind of arguing here, even though like the family is actively in trouble. And Vinny and Moto want to take their bikes, and Throttle's like, "No, we can't. We're in the army." But they're like, "Screw that," because like Vinny especially is not having fun in the army. I think Moto could take it. He would just like check out if he was getting yelled at. But I think Vinny would just, like, he's like, "Get me out of here." Throttle also just wants to do right by Carbine, and I'm sure he feels like he's letting her down if he leaves the army. The Sand Raiders are now gathering up everybody in the city because they're still looking for Stoker. Here's Harley. They're like, "We're gonna shoot Harley if this Stoker guy doesn't show up." And so Stoker does. He's like, "No, shoot me instead." And then the bros show up and they're fighting, and meanwhile, Throttle's having like separation anxiety. he's like, "My bros are gone. I can't take it anymore." And Carbine's just like, "I'm actually surprised you're still here. You should probably go." So then Throttle puts on his biker outfit. Like they all took time to change their clothes before, because they're not gonna to be seen in army duds, and then now he's gonna go help save the city. But I also marked this page because I just want to show you guys, look how pretty this mouse girl is. She's so pretty. She just is a background character, but I really, really liked this character design. So cute. This was a great artist. This was a great artist for this series. I thought, like between animation and comic art, there's going to be a little bit of a difference, but I think this was still pretty good. And here we are at the finale of this 3-issue series, and this is really just one big fight. It's just them fighting the Sand Raiders and taking back the city. Like really the whole thing is just fight. Eventually Throttle shows up. Carbine also shows up and brings soldiers with her finally to save people. Oh look, Primer and Rimfire need help. I didn't see that coming. And then we get like one little thing here with this. And this is actually Charlie right here, and she's in the military. We don't even find this out. Like I saw her and I was like, that looks like Charlie. And this is the beginning of my disappointment, like my true disappointment in this series. But I didn't know how much I would be disappointed until we get to these guys. But this is our first indication that everything is not kosher with this series. That we're gonna start veering off to the right eventually. But pretty much the whole setup of this thing was just here at the end. The bros pretty much decide that no, they're not going to be in the army. Stoker is their leader, and this is kind of the beginning of the Freedom Fighters, which I would have liked to see a little bit harder line with the politics of what's going on in Mars, because it's not quite as clear. But really, the politics of the army versus the freedom fighters is that the Martian government let the Plutarchians come to Mars and continued to let them harvest Mars because they were getting paid off. When the Plutarchians actually started attacking, it looked like the Martian government was responding with the army, but in reality, the army was actually constantly given false information and constantly rerouted to other places. So it looked like they were fighting for the people, but they really weren't. And thus the freedom fighters had to be born. Stoker knew the truth. Stoker knew that that the government was in on it. that deep down they were helping the Plutarchians, and being part of the military was not how they were going to win this war. The army and the freedom fighters are not friends. If the freedom fighters get caught by the army, they are going to at least get arrested. The freedom fighters have to, in the show, their base is under a monastery. They have to live in secrecy, whereas in this, they kind of felt, especially as we're getting into this one, there is a lot of talking to Carbine, and there's a lot of just like kind of hanging out with her. In this issue, it was just such a long fight scene, and I really would have liked to see a little bit more of like, we are putting the freedom fighters together, but we have to be separate from the army because it's dangerous, because we can't let them know what we're doing, because there are eyes and ears and that sort of thing. But all in all, fairly solid. I think if we wanted to do that, it would probably require one more issue. 3 issue is very short for a story. I go to the comic book store fairly often, almost every 2 weeks, so usually I can get a hold of whatever issue I want. But for some reason, after this issue, I never saw Biker Mice on. I never saw them on the shelf again. Other than I just went to the comic book store just the other day, and they had Scorch, so I picked up Scorch. But I was so surprised just to see this, because I haven't seen Biker Mice for so long, and I am sometimes wondering if they did it on purpose to save me. This issue, we're gonna get to this issue, it's absolute dog shit. If you want a spoiler, it's absolute dog shit. But we're gonna start with this. I'm gonna try, like, I read it a couple days ago, and I was so irritated that I've been letting myself have a few days to chill, but I'm still irritated about it. Like, I'm still really mad. But I'm gonna be as fair and as balanced as I can. This also, this has a different artist, Daniel Gett, I guess. And this artist not bad. This artist cannot draw mice faces. They're terrible. Like, they're so bad. They're so bad. Okay, starting here, it's pretty much picking up where the other series left off, so I don't know why this is a number 1, really. We even have the same writer. So this should have just been number 4 here. But, so we're pretty much, like, we're right in the thick of it. The bros are in the freedom fighters. They spend a lot of time fighting Plutarchians. They got a freedom fighter base somewhere. And then, like, we have to be reminded that Throttle's mom is old and only remembers him sometimes. And also, Vinny's parents are dead for some reason. They seem to have died fairly recently. We don't know why. Like, they were dead before the war. And once again, like, neither of these things have anything to do with the story, so I don't know why they had to be here. Like, at the very least, I would have had Vinny's parents die during the war, like, during a Plutarchian attack or something. Like, there's no reason that they have such tragic families, and then Moto just goes home to his family, nothing's wrong here. But these, so here's where the plot starts. This volcano that was long since dormant, that's right next to the city, just goes off for no reason. We get these absolutely horrifically obnoxious faces. They're so bad. They're so, like, everything else is fine. All the other art is fine. The backgrounds are fine. The anatomy's fine. But these mouse faces are just horrifically bad. And, so the volcano went off, so the bros show up and they're trying to evacuate the city. And these right here, like, these, I marked this page especially. These are the worst faces. Look at that face for Stoker. It's so bad. He looks like a bulldog. I hate it. I hate it. Why are the faces so bad? I hate it. But anyway, Carbine comes up to them, and she's like, I know why this long dormant volcano went off. And she takes them down there, and she shows them that there's this kind of gadget. And she's like, I'm pretty sure that's why this volcano went off. This is totally a plot from the TV show. I know for sure the second TV show, possibly the first one too. It's been a while since I've seen either. But yeah, this was taken from the show, that they have these machines that will set off the volcanoes, which is how, of course, that they were clearing Martian cities. And that's pretty much this. That's issue 1. That a volcano went off, and Carbine's like it wasn't on accident, like it wasn't natural. And then we get the problem. Then the Cellverse has purchased a couple different IPs, and for whatever fucking reason, they want to put them all together right off the bat. So we get a little thing with this, which I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I bought it for this. You're trying to sneak this in. I mean, this is fine if it's just a couple pages, it's like an ad. But I don't want that. This is what I want. I want this. How dare you? Like, if you want to do a crossover, then you do a separate one. You don't do the main one. It's stupid. All right, getting into number 2. I love this cover. I think this is one of my favorite. They are all good. The covers are great. The covers are so good. I really, really like this cover. We get in here, and it just starts with like another fight. And look, oh, Primer and Rimfire need to be saved again because Sand Raiders have them also again. It is so old. Like, this is so old. We need to stop. We've had it too many times already. They bring the machine back to Stoker, and there's Mace. I was actually really surprised to see Mace. He's already there. For those who don't know, in the show, he's actually a rat in disguise, and he is pretty much a mole in the Freedom Fighters. I was really excited. I was really excited to see him. He's a pretty good villain. And then, oh look, Rimfire and Primer need to be saved again because of dirt this time. Like, it never stops. It never stops. Yeah, they go to Stoker and they're like, hey, so we're kind of worried that the Plutarchians are going to take this machine and they're going to put it in other volcanoes, like across Mars. Like, they're going to do this everywhere. And not just, I think they're in Brimstone. Not just in Brimstone. And Stoker's like, you don't know that. This is very unstoker of him, I felt, where he's just like, you don't know. Like, they could just be doing it to this city. That totally makes sense, that they'd only do it once and never again, and I don't want to hear anything about it unless you have proof. And then he huffs and rides away. And they're like, just, why doesn't he believe us? Like, this is so weird. But they're like, oh, we gotta, I guess, bring him more proof or he's not gonna agree with us. Carbine, she kind of got relegated to helping refugees evacuate the city. And Throttle shows up, and then they just have lunch together because, like I said, it's apparently not a big deal. You can be freedom fighters and just have lunch with the military, and nobody cares. But Throttle's like, hey, we can't get Stoker to believe us. You have any more intel? And she apparently knows everything. She's like, oh yeah, like, the Sand Raiders are moving some stuff right now that apparently she knows about, but nobody in the military really gives a shit about. And she's like, go intercept those guys. Look at this. Look at this face. Look at that face. Oh, they're just terrible faces. But she's like, yeah, go intercept these Sand Raiders and see what they got. Is apparently very interesting. And so they do. They go out into the desert and find the Sand Raiders, and the Sand Raiders are actually hauling some captives. And they go and save these captives. And one of them is this chick, and I got a little excited because we haven't had any new mice characters for a while. And so it's like, oh cool, new character. And they're like, hey, who are you? Why are you a captive? And she's like, oh, you're gonna want to talk to me. Like, I know all the shit. I know all the tea. I'm gonna spill it. I'll tell you everything. And they're just like, oh damn. They're like, hell yeah, okay. And that is the end of that's issue 2. Okay, now we're getting into issue 3. This is where it started to drag. Like, the story is really, really slowing down. I had a hard time getting through this one. And then we're gonna get to... So issue 3, and I'm still loving these covers. Look how short he is. I wish I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but like, look how short he is compared to Sweep. And there's the kids that always get captured. There's more Stilton. Like, we always get a little bit of Stilton, but he's never actually doing anything, which is why I've never really talked about what he's doing, because it's nothing. He's literally doing nothing. He's like on the radio and just being like, Stilton is good, Stilton is great, listen to Stilton. And Limburger's there too. They're just kind of there. But back here with this mouse that claims she knows all the shit, they're trying to get her back to base, and we've got some saber squids attacking them, and then they finally get someplace safe, and she's like, oh, I'm still gonna spill the beans, just keep me safe and I'll tell you everything. And then they get a little poof, you see back here, poof, and they're like, oh, volcano. So we got other things to do. And we get to see Hard Rock, which I was very surprised. He's also he's a favorite villain. I really like him. In the show, he's actually a reformed villain, and he had a girlfriend, and Limburger, I think, like, captured his girlfriend and then made him go fight the biker mice. But in this one, like, he's still a villain. Like, he fucked up some shit during the war. I just want you to remember that, like, he's just hanging around here, and Carbine sees him, and she sees that he is not a mouse, that he is a completely different species. He's not Plutarchian, he's not a mouse, he's not a sound writer, he's not a rat. And she's just like, hey, you can't play your guitar here. That's all she's just like, move it along. She does not care what he is. And so he's like, cool, and he goes up to the volcano, and Limburger's there, and he's like, what's up, Limburger? And Limburger's like, well, I got this, like, phallic looking machine that's supposed to, like, set off the volcano, but it got jostled around and it's not working. So I'm hoping if, like, you do your thing, then it will, like, jostle the machine in the right way, and it will totally start the volcano. And Hard Rock's like, okay. And so he does, like, his dinner, you know, and it totally just absolutely decimates the little space station where ships were removing the refugees and taking them someplace safe. And so they're Scabbard and Carbine, they're pretty much just getting buried in rubble. And of course it actually worked. Like, the machine is now powered up, so Limburger totally knew what he was talking about. These are actually great faces. Like, this artist can do people really well. It's just the mouse faces. He's gearing up to do another chord here, and the biker mice are like, hell nah. And I really like this face here where he's like, ugh. They're like shooting at him, and he's like, I haven't finished playing. This is a great face too. I think these are really good faces. Just, this artist just can't do mice faces. I don't know. Also another good face. But he gets trashed. Hard Rock does not have a good time fighting the biker mice. And then while they're fighting, while Vinny and Throttle are fighting Hard Rock, Moto takes What's Her Bucket down to the volcano because she knows about the machine, but it's gone. She's like, oh, the machine's gone because Limburger probably took it this time, so there's no evidence. And then we get another obnoxious face. She says her name is Hockey, I guess. It's either Hawkeye or Hockey. And then he's like, I got questions, you better have answers. And this whole time, you know, she's been like, no, I'll tell you anything. Like, whatever you want to know. So that's that. Like, this, like I said, this just dragged. They had already found the chick. They found her in this one. They already found the chick in this one. And then this one, they still just have her. It was a lot of fighting and just not a lot of story in this one. And I was kind of starting to space out because I need a little bit more to keep my attention. And now we're in, oh my god, I hate this issue so much. I hate it so much. Here we go. So, I mean, this should have been my, you know, I saw this and I was like, no. So I thought maybe, like, because we're in the middle of something else. So I thought maybe, like, by the end, some robots will show up at the end or whatever. And then I'll be like, ah, shit. But here we go. Here's another just terrible face. Terrible. Like, they look like dogs. Terrible face. are finally at the Freedom Fighter base with this chick who says that she's gonna spill the beans, and then Vinny's like, Harley says she's not talking, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Carbine's missing. They haven't found her in the rubble yet, so Throttle's going back to look for her. But then, you know, Stoker's like, you have not shut up about how you're going to tell us everything. Are you going to tell us? And she's like, I am trying to help you. And they're like, tell us. What? Tell us something. And then he rips off her mask, and she's actually this alien chick. And I would like to remind you, in the previous issue, we saw Hard Rock, who was also not a mouse, not a native of that planet, and nobody gave a shit. Nobody gave a shit that he was there, but for some reason, she has to be disguised as a mouse, as a hostage. Like, she's not even trying, like, they weren't trying to pass her off going through a crowd or anything. She was in a cage, but she had to be disguised as a mouse for whatever reason. I don't even know. Like, it gets stupider from here, and then she tells her whole story, which I do not give a shit about, because this has nothing to do with Biker Mice from Mars. This is about setting up a multiverse, and it goes on and on and on and on. We actually get, here's Charlie. She is in the military, in the human Earth the human Earth military, and they are in Detroit. They're not even in Chicago. And it goes on and on about, like, these stupid ass robots from Robo Force, and then there's also, like, there was the chick alien insect that's also, it's also one of the IPs. It's like insectoids or something like that. I don't know. I don't care. But it just goes on and on. And we finally, and then it comes back here, and then Stilton's like, you're gonna make stuff for us, which is that machine in the volcano. Like, she made it to make worlds green again, but it can also set off volcanoes. But I just want to show you. From here to here is all her stupid ass backstory. This is Biker Mice. These pages here, Biker Mice. These pages back here, Biker Mice. That's it. This whole issue, I was so fucking pissed. I paid money for this. I paid money for Biker Mice, and I got 3 pages of Biker Mice. I'm done buying issues for sure. Like, I'll take a look at, like, the trades when they come out and see where the story is going, but, like, I was livid. I was so mad. I don't care about your fucking other multiverses. I don't care about RoboForce. I don't care about, they also have this one. I do remember watching this show as a kid, but I still don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about this show. I don't like this show. If they cross over this, if you do any crossovers, they need to be by themselves. I read a lot of Ninja Turtles. Ninja Turtles does a million crossovers, and then you know what they do? The crossovers happen by themselves. They happen, like, on their own issue. We have finally gotten some Biker Mice from Mars, and we were so excited, and then it's this bullshit. I hate it. I hate it so much. And I'm not blaming anybody who's working on this, because you know it wasn't their idea. You know, this came from higher up, where they're like, you have to work in all these other IPs that nobody gives a shit about. Like, I had never even heard of RoboForce. I was a kid when all this stuff came out. I've never heard of RoboForce. I've never heard of the insect one. Like I said, I did see this one. Sectars. This Sectars? Never heard of them. Never heard of them. Don't give a shit. I just want this. And this, I felt like despair in this. We're not going to get Biker Mice from Mars. Currently, what we have is Biker Mice on Mars. We don't have Biker Mice from Mars. No Chicago, no hot dogs and root beer, no road trips to Detroit, no Chi-Town, no Nubs games. None of that. It is not what I wanted. It's not what I wanted. It's not what I paid for. And I've seen some of the covers, like, it does feel like they get back on track, but I'm so pissed. I just want to throw this one in the trash. There's nothing of worth in this issue. I hate it so much. Nothing interesting. Nothing I wanted to read. I skimmed through this part just to, like, get an idea of what was going on, but it's not interesting. It's not interesting at all. Yeah, but that's that's all these issues and some very very hard feelings I have about this because like I said, this is one of my absolute favorite animated franchises. I loved this show. I was actually drawing Biker Mice last night, and so I was watching the show to remind me what the characters looked like. There's something in that show that these comics completely forgot. And that is Biker Mice from Mars is a comedy. It is a comedy. It's about three goofballs really don't take anything seriously ever. And in comparison to this, these comics are kind of a bummer. This too. Like this comic is a bummer. There's so much tragedy. And the thing is though, there should be, because this is about a war. This is about a horrible thing that happened to an entire planet. It's not about that. It's about these three dumbasses. Like, you see them in the very first episode. You know what they're doing in the very first episode of the show? They're just fucking around in space. They're like in a spaceship. They're just chilling. They're like drinking beers and watching highlight reels and just like no care in the world. And then they crash on Earth and they're just like, guess we live here now. They're not serious. And like alone, they're fairly intelligent beings, but it's like when the three of them get together, they get even dumber. And they're just a bunch of happy-go-lucky idiots that just happen to be able to fight really, really good because they do the most ridiculous, crazy-ass shit on their bikes. And nobody can fight against that. And they have these really big personalities where I do feel the attempt was made to kind of show them. The story really took over any personalities. Like, nobody has big personalities in this, and really in the show, everybody does. Everybody has big personalities. Carbine, I actually didn't like Carbine as kid watching this show because she was just such a ballbuster. Reading these, I kind of miss ballbuster Carbine because I understand her more, that she's a bad bitch and she's trying to get things done, and she's got these three idiots. She's got the one idiot that she has a crush on, and he's got his two dumbass friends, and they're always together, and they're always stupider when they're together, and they don't take anything seriously, and then they just bailed. They bailed on the entire planet, and she didn't know where they went. She didn't know why they never came back. And I kind of miss that. Like, Carbine is just there as, like, a narrative tool. She's just there to give them information because I don't even know what the army's doing. But I wish Carbine had a bigger personality. I wish Stoker had a bigger personality. And of course, the bros. Like, the story should have been led by their personalities. That's pretty much how the stories are with them, is they're led by personalities. They're in Chicago, and they're kind of just chilling and hanging out and looking for some place to get in trouble, and then they, like, hear explosions, and they're like, oh, what's going on over there? Can we be a part of that? I mean, can we go see if anybody's hurt? Type of thing. So seeing them in the comic, Viminy's word bubble should have been, like, this big, just full of dialogue, and then Moto should have been like, that's not what I heard. And then, while they're fighting, Throttle would say something witty, but not necessarily helpful. And then, like, them joining the army, they should have showed up on Scabbard's doorstep, like, hey, we came to blow up Plutarchians, can we do that here? And then they end up running drills and peeling potatoes the entire time, because they're really not fit for the army, because these guys have and will always dance to their own tune, and that's the whole point of Biker Mice from Mars. No matter what's going on, even if it's tragic, even if it's heartbreaking, they're still gonna do them. They handle life their way, and that just really wasn't in these comics. So the bones are there. The bare bones of what Biker Mice should be is there, and I'd say the meat is there. The world is built up, it's pretty solid, it makes sense, but the heart is a little light. The heart is these big personalities, and we should be looking through the eyes of these three idiots. And we're really not. We're getting just this kind of like one-pace story where there's just sad stuff everywhere, and it should be seen through the eyes of these three guys who just will not let anything keep them down for long, and that are always going to live life the way that they want to live it. But as a whole, like, after all that, I still think it's solid. I still think if you like Biker Mice, you're gonna like it. Up until they start shilling this multiverse. And it's really a shame. It's really a shame. I was very happy for quite a while, and maybe I'll be happy when it gets back on track. Like this soured me. This soured me a lot, and I was very disappointed. I think like Scorch, I'm still like I said, Scorch was a bummer too. The guys are in here and they are no personality, no personality whatsoever. They're not in it very much, but they do show up and they are just like blank slates. This wasn't my favorite either, but this is also just one issue. I'm willing to reserve judgment until the whole thing comes out. There's been like animated ads for her. Like they're really trying to push her. The little animated ads are fun. Like she comes in and blow things up and they're like, "Oh, okay, like we're not the only ones who blow things up now." So you would think it would be a whole lot of fun, and this issue wasn't super fun. But maybe the next issues are. I'm really not sure how to end this. Like I liked it. I was very happy. It was very good until it wasn't. So I guess it's up to you. If you're a Biker Mice fan, if you haven't checked this out yet, only you can really decide what you're willing to put up with. And this turned out to be my comic reviews always turn out to be a lot longer than I expect them to be. But thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Okay, bye.